Happy Green Friday, everybody. I hope that you have had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, and today is a great day to be out in the garden. Now, I had a couple of things that I wanted to cover today just to be as timely as possible. Ordinarily, this is the day that I recommend sowing your cottage garden seeds, including the poppies. And you can absolutely do that, but I warn everybody now to keep some seeds on hand just in case we have some major weather catastrophe like we had last year on Christmas Eve that caused all of the cottage garden seeds that had been sown in late November and early December to die because of the sudden temperature change. Now, I have tons of seedlings germinating, and I want to give you a sneak peek of what everything looks like. But I also wanted to remind you that right now on Green Friday, Soil Cube is running the best sale of the year. The bags are $20 off, and if you add my code BREEGROWS23 at checkout, you'll get another $10 off. So that is $30 off every big bag that you order. Remember, I can't do my cottage gardening without my Soil Cube, and I highly recommend both the traditional humus-rich compost sold as Soil Cube and also the veggie mix for this direct seeding application. So let me show you some of the seedlings that have been in the ground about 2.5 weeks. You can see my biggest problem is the cats digging in here, and even these cages aren't helping. I need to turn them upside down. But you can really see how great the germination is. And this is a mix of spicy mixed greens and California poppies with a handful of lupins added. So let me give you an up-close view of what each of those plants look like. So here we've got the spicy mixed greens, which are all essentially brassicas. It was a lot of mustard and arugula and lettuce. This here is a lupin. You see it's got like 5 leaves, highly segmented. And then next to that, we have right here, California poppies, Eschscholzia californica. So everything in this bed is doing really well. And I actually see some elephant garlic popping up. And of course, all of the garlic that was planted along the edge is growing really well, and I'm actually going to harvest a little bit of this to include in my Thanksgiving afternoon meal today. So this year's Thanksgiving has been like super relaxing, and it's in part because David had to actually work night shift last night on the holiday. So we're having our family meal this afternoon. And yesterday, my good friend Tim Alderton came over, and we had a delicious meal with turkey that I made, so I knew everything was safe. And we watched The Gilded Age, and it was hands down my favorite holiday. I said to Tim, we need to just do this every year, just the two of us. But for today, I am actually making a vegan stuffing for the first time ever. And turns out that's not hard to do at all. But one of the ingredients that every stuffing seems to call for is celery. And I didn't have any from the grocery store, but it doesn't matter because, see, I've got celery right here in the garden that I can harvest. And I have a feeling it'll taste even better. And I decided also to make my stuffing extra special. I'm gonna add a couple of persimmons to it. These are not quite ripe for eating, like to bite into, but I can definitely cook them down, and I think they'll give a really nice added sweetness and a cool texture. So I'm really excited about getting to take advantage of all the plants that I have growing in the garden for the feast. And the nice thing is we're only feeding 5 people, so I don't have to make like huge quantities of anything, although I undoubtedly am making more than necessary. I also wanted to take you out to the neighborhood entry. First of all, the ornamental grasses that we planted here along this back edge are looking great. The white and pink muley together, I think, is so beautiful. But I also wanted to come out here to show you some of the daikon radish that are growing really well. You can see this is all daikon radish, direct seeded. We did this on purpose to help prevent some additional weeds from establishing, and it's working pretty well. And a lot of these are absolutely enormous. So I really am excited to show you these because it's just like out of another world. Look at how big that root is. You can see why it's called the soil buster radish. It just grows and grows and grows. Look, this one's even bigger, even though it's split. I mean, it's just incredibly impressive. So I'm gonna harvest a couple of these that are a little bit smaller to make a really nice, simple kind of raw appetizer to get our Thanksgiving meal started. And I know most people don't really ever get to harvest produce from their neighborhood entry, but I'm feeling pretty special that I get to. And as you can see, we've got some work to do to get some ground plane coverage here. Definitely going to be coming out and top dressing with some more soil cube and getting some poppies and larkspur sown. And I haven't been out here in a while. The peanuts need to be harvested from out here. And these usually are really heavy producers. Let's just take a look. Oh yeah, look at all those nuts. Growing right here in my neighborhood entryway. You guys, I'm just so amused. Look at these roots. The daikon radish are the coolest plants. I mean, that is just like, it's such a cool sight to see. And you can see here are the daikon, obviously much smaller. But eventually they all develop huge root systems. Look at these. So it's really funny because sometimes when I'm doing maintenance in the neighborhood entry, I really don't want to stop and chit chat with people in their cars. But just now I had the best interaction with a neighbor I've never met. And he was so intrigued with everything that's growing in the entryway. And then I started ripping out daikon radish and it like blew his mind. And well, isn't that like part of the point of everything that we do as gardeners? Now I am going to clean these up and get them marinated. And that will be part of my very first course. I'm going to pair these along with the Treasure Island sweet potato tasting. And I have got those ready to be baked. So a few more expert tips about direct seeding your cottage gardens. Soil prep is everything, and this is why I always recommend putting down a few inches of soil cube on top of your mulch, on top of the leaves, and then sow your seeds directly in that compost. As the seeds germinate, the roots will break through, essentially acting as a rototiller. Now remember, the poppies are very tiny seeds. They need light to germinate. They need to be right on the soil surface. I explain this in all of my seeding videos, but I want to make sure that you know it. After you've seeded, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and water. Though we did get a nice rain a few days ago, I think it's not a bad idea just to make sure that you keep your soil profile moist. So remember, when those seedlings germinate, their roots are only going to be about the same size as their vegetative growth. So their roots are really just in that top inch of soil that dries out really easily. Now let me show you some more seedlings that have germinated so that you'll know what your seeds should look like. All right, so here we have another mix of the spicy greens and then lots of poppies. So this is the breadseed poppy, Papaver somniferum. And then in here, you see the Eschscholzia has a wider kind of pronged leaf, and it's much taller. So that's the California poppy. This is the breadseed poppy. And you can see I've got a good mix of everything together, which is generally what my goal is. I want everything to be incorporated, and that's what really gives you that cottage look, like it did not happen by the hand of a person, even though it totally is happening by my hand, specifically sowing these seeds. Now I wanted to show you also, this is what the lupins look like when they're first emerging. Here's what they look like a bit more mature. And the seed germination on these has been off the charts. I'm really excited about growing these, and actually my plan is to do a big lupin installation out in the front wave border. I've also added a link in the description to my newsletter that came out this morning. If you're not getting it, you're welcome to sign up, but I just wanted to include it because it has some, what I think are some interesting things to be able to share with people. And well, as always, I'm wishing you the very best. I hope you had a safe and healthy and enjoyable holiday, and I'm looking forward to going inside and getting the rest of my meal prepped. Well, I look forward to sharing more scenes from my garden here in Central North Carolina, and I appreciate all of you tuning into these videos. Thanks so much, everybody. Happy gardening.